Hello, and welcome to the inaugural virtual speaker series. We are excited to bring you this new series. My name is Kim Peterson, and I am the Assistant Professor of HIM. The idea to do a speaker series was the brainchild of the Health Information Management Student Association, HIMSA, the Undergraduate Student Association of HIM juniors and seniors, as well as prospective students interested in learning more about our profession. If you would like to become a member of HIMSA, please email me. We would love to have you. We want to welcome our graduate students in our Masters of Science Health Informatics program. Please know that there is a Graduate Student Association being formed. Again, please reach out either to me or Nathan Super if interested in becoming a member. Our goal with this speaker series was to provide professional growth skills, networking opportunities, and outreach activities as a way for all of our students to come together virtually. Please enjoy this hour and watch for future speaker series events. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Micah House, President of the HIMSA Association. Micah?
Hi, everyone. So today I have the pleasure of introducing the Chair of the Health Information Management Department, Dr. Bambang Primanto. Dr. Primanto is leading the charge in ensuring the Health Information Management Department is evolving to align with future job markets. Currently, he is co-directing the National Rehabilitation Research and Training Center on Family Support, supported by a 5-year, $4.3 million grant from the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. Dr. Primanto has worked at the University of Pittsburgh since he completed his PhD in Information Science in 1996. Dr. Primanto continuously challenges the status quo in research, academia, and leadership. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Bambang Primanto.
Thank you, Micah, and thanks, Kim. So what I'd like to do today, and you know, it's a pleasure to be the inaugural speaker in this series. I think this is a great idea to bring together all students, you know, graduate and undergrad in health informatics and health information management, and you know, to discuss about the professions, the field, as well as you know what's going on, you know, in the field, and provide opportunities to do networking. So what I like to do today is to highlight the development within the department. So what we have been doing in terms of education and research, and also give you, as you know, Micah mentions about the future of the field, and this will be more of an introduction about the field, and then we could further discuss it during the discussion session. So to start with, I've been a chair for the department for more than a year now, and another year as an interim chair. So it took 2 years to lead the department. So at that time, what I've been doing is to really change the curriculum, the approach in the department about how the field should move forward, and then also to bring in many ideas in terms of research and education. So let me share the screen. I have okay. Oh yeah, before I forget, if you have any questions, please use the chat to type the questions that you have. This format is not like the classroom Zoom that you have. So this is more of what you call a webinar, meaning that there is a speaker and then there's an attendee. So the only way for you to ask questions is through the chat room. You have been probably wondering about, what is health information management. If you're a prospective student, you want to know what it is and what is health informatics. If you already in the field, you also wondering, what is the future direction of the, of the field. So what I like to, present is just brief highlights about, what is it that we wanted to do in terms of education, and also, and then I will highlight three research activities that we are doing that more connected to what is it, the future of the, of the field. So I think probably, every one of you have heard lately about data science. Data science is an emerging field that will revolutionize everything, revolutionize, the way things done in the industry, every industry, as well as the way, will be done in terms of education. So there is a report from the National Academy of Science 4 years ago, it's called Data Science, and this report provide also recommendations through all universities about, moving data science, how to incorporate data science into all the curriculums. So Pitt, is one of the leading universities, so we don't want to be left behind. So Pitt, the provost formed a data science task force last year, and the charge of the task force is, you know, uh, evaluating our curriculum, all the disciplines and how to incorporate data science in every, field that we have. So probably you think that, data science, really I will use the slideshow so that you know you- uh, the data science, probably you think about it is more of, machine learning, data mining and all of those things, while, data science actually it's a broader, and I will show you why the health information management and health informatics actually really at the core of, data science. So in the traditional HIM field, has been very strong in, how to manage data, how to capture data, and so the the documentation, code, and all of those things are big in, in traditional HIM. So if you're a senior in HIM, you have learned all of this, standard coding, data pipeline, and this is now as part of this report. Instead of, defining, what is data science, the National Academy of Science uh, proposed what they call a data acumen, meaning these are the sets of skills that will be needed in the future. That's why it's very, very important for every field to incorporate data science. So, of course, the domain-specific field is very important. This is the health domain that, you all learn, in HIM and in health informatics. This is the area, things like uh, reimbursement, things about the business, revenue cycle and coding and all of those things. So this is the domain specific area that, which in our case is health, health and healthcare. This is what we are strong in. And then, we also have things like privacy and confidentiality. This is also the strong area of HIM and HI. And then again, the workflow and reproducibility, this area, this, is HIM is very strong. Also learn about data governance. In here it's called provenance management, privacy, database. These are the area that also, within really the core of HIM and HI. So then, what I'd like to bring to HIM is to strengthen the area that we were not strong before. So things like computational, foundation, the algorithm. These are the areas of managing big data, machine learning. This is the area that people will know what data science usually is. How to deal with big data, how to do data analytics, this is the area that I'd like to strengthen within our curriculum. This is the area that we were not strong before. Well, we already strong in in all of other areas, and as part of our curriculum, the understanding the client's needs, reporting, and data storytelling. This is this been emphasized especially in undergrad. We also doing this in our grad. So these are the data acumen that the National Academy is recommending. This is the area that every field, every profession, they need to have a data science acumen. Okay, so that's also the plan for Pitt. So Pitt established the data science task force, and then we will bring in recommendation to every field how to incorporate data science into the curriculum, that every curriculum and every programs and department, because this is the time that this is one of those times when things change everything, and probably 30 years ago it was computer. So, and every discipline will taught about how to use computer. So right now, instead of computer, it's a data science. So now this is the report from the Pitt Health Data Science, and so what our department did in last year was to change the curriculum to bring in to strengthen the area of that is related to data science. So as a result, you can see here, this is all the programs at Pitt, and our undergrad program is actually the program that has the highest data science acumen skills compared to any other programs at Pitt. So as you can see here, even compared to computer science, we are we are much stronger in terms of data science acumen within our curriculum. As you can see here, there's a computer science, there is information science here, there's a math and statistics somewhere. So this is where we are with our undergrad. We have our undergrad curriculum has a highest data science acumen compared to any program at Pitt. And as you can see here that the areas that we are not strong is in math. We don't specifically have math in our curriculum because that's part of the requirement in the first 2 years before you enter the program. So that's why it's not. But the rest we are very strong in data management. We are very strong in data description. This is where and then we also very strong in the data modeling, and then and as well as the area where it's related to the domain, and then data as well as the area that we want to emphasize in the area of informatics. Well, our graduate program is of course has higher content of data science, and is among the program that has the highest data acumen contents compared to other programs within Pitt. So we need to be proud of that, and so that's why this is the area where HIM will be moving. We will be moving into health data science field. So we could call it health informatics, and we could call it HIM. The program doesn't really matter. So what matter is what is the content of the curriculum, and and this is the report from the from the Pitt data science task force. So in relation to that, I'd like to highlight also the activities that we are doing in moving our programs, our education, towards that health data science field. So we are currently developing a platform called Redwine. It stands for, because our field is in, our program is within SHRS, School of Health and Rehab Sciences, and so we have been originally want to combine both research and education that is related to data science. So we want to develop a platform, what we call Rehab Data Warehouse and Informatics infrastructure for research and education. We call it Redwine. And this, what we are hoping is that using this platform, researchers at SHRS will be able to manage large data set as well as mining data set from there. So this is the, part of the illustration that we have. So this one will be used, both by, researchers as well as students at the SHRS. And we will, integrate data from various sources, and then we also do a lot of visualization and analytic within the platform. So this is where students could learn the whole spectrum of data management from from data capture, data creation, and then data management, data governance, as well as then analyzing it and visualizing it and developing reports from there. Well, it turned out that getting real data from UPMC and from sources like what we there is which called Neptune, and then there is also data from Optum. We purchase data from that, but it turned out that the access is extremely limited. So we opted for collecting cases. So what we wanted to do is to build cases from any data we can gather from out there. And then, so this is an example of, and then the students, depending on your skills, you can be from, you don't know anything about analytics. And so you just want to play around with the data and just by point and click. And then you want to get the feel of how to analyze, how people analyze the data. Okay, so we can do that. So we have cases that we collected here. Well, this is the iris data that I usually use, as an intro, to data analysis using data that is simple. But we could also use data that is very complex, and I'll provide that example later. But the idea is that students will be able to interact with this platform regardless of the skill. So they can be, at the beginning, they just want to get, their feedback, just, by point and click, and just to see how the data is being analyzed. And then, we also have quiz as part of that. But we also can do deep machine learning in it. So this is an example of, image recognition using, let's say this is data from, from the, imaging, for example. So, and we also plan to do, deep learning. Imaging usually involve mostly deep learning, but we could start with a simple problem like this. On the left side is an example of simple problem, and then we can move on to much more complex problem. And also, we also will provide example of how to do machine learning using EHR, for example. This is an example of that. So that's the platform that I want to bring the programs and the department into more of strengthen the area that is related to data science and data analytics. Other areas of the that we discussed before. This is the area that we already strong. This ethics and responsibility, data modeling, the domain specific thing, data management, and the workflow. This is the one that I mentioned is related to all to all of this. Okay, so that's the highlights from education, and then I'd like to present also highlights from what kind of research are we doing, and you could involve in this research as part of your projects, for example. So just to give you a hint of what are the challenges in terms of informatics and data science in the future. So we are involved in large project in low back pain research. And so this is how it looks like. So what we are doing is we use wearable sensor. So this wearable sensor is much more sophisticated than the one that we usually use, like Fitbit. So this wearable sensor actually is really, it's more like the bandage. You put it in your skin. So it's really part of your skin. It can monitor kinematic data, motion, and you could put it in your, let's say, low back, for example. So we could really monitor what's going on, in your low back, and we collect that data, and then we also have performance measures in the clinic. So we ask, participants or patients to do certain movement, and then we capture it using videos. So we could synchronize actually the videos and the sensor, so we know what's going on. And then we also have screening this using tablet here. So we'll, from the sensor and the video, we know, what kind of movement that the participants on the patient are doing. So that way we could analyze, let's say certain data that we collect, from the motion sensor associated with certain movement. And then, we could classify the patient based on that, and all of these things will go into our server, our portal, and then where we could apply machine learning, for example. So, and then we also have app that the patient or the participants will go home with, and then so we have both that, and then we have mobile app, and then we have the motion sensor as well as activity monitoring sensor. This what we could either use Fitbit or we could use actigraphy for this one. And then all of this data, we will collect that, and then we use it to analyze what kind of, now this project will still focus more on the data capture, but in the future we want to use this one as part of the intervention as well. So that's, just to give you a glimpse of the future of informatics, the health informatics, the future of health data science, where the usage of wearable devices will be more prevalent, and then the amount of data that is being collected will be huge. So we are not dealing with just simple data. We are dealing with a huge amount of data. So you can imagine that this wearable, this motion sensor, is collecting at probably 20 samples per second, for example. So the amount of data is very, very large, and that's where data science come into play, and how to deal and how to analyze data that come from various sources. So some of know that big data has 3 V. So volume, data is really big, and then the velocity, as you can imagine that the speed of the data, the coming data is it's not like if you go to clinic, in the past we go to clinic once a year, for example. So the velocity of the data is extremely slow. And then while using wearable devices like this, you have huge amount of data every second, not only weeks or months or year, but measured in seconds. So what we did was that, in this project, when you use videos from either from iPhone or from your Google phone, the speed is in millisecond. So and that's not fast enough. So what we did is we developed our own video captures that can, you can see here, the videos is not in millisecond, but in microsecond. So because the sensor is not measured in millisecond, is much higher granularity than that. So that you can imagine the amount of velocity of the data. And then so volume, velocity, and then the third V in big data is veracity, meaning that we have all kinds of data. We have video data, we have sensors data, and then we also have the traditional data, the numerical data and text data that we have. So that's the challenge of future informatics and future data science. Okay, so that's one highlight of the research we are doing, and some of you already know about our work in mobile health, in supporting the disability, people with chronic conditions, among the example of people with chronic condition is individuals with disabilities. So this work is, as Micah mentioned, I have a center on, caregiving. So we want to use the technology that will support, elderly, people with disabilities, as well as people with chronic condition in this, COVID situation. If you imagine that, this population is very vulnerable and he cannot be in contact with their caregivers. So that's what we have been doing this for several years. So and by now this platform is very stable. So we have been using it to support our clients that is connected to clinician, and then at the same time also can be connected with caregivers. So this is the future also in healthcare, where not only limited to clinics, the self-management, self-care, everyday things that the patient is doing matters. So we want to prevent condition from getting worse or to maintain their health. So that's the purpose of mobile health. And so originally we only focus on the caregiving for the clients. So but we, with the center that we plan to also provide intervention for the caregivers themselves. As you can imagine that caregiving is really demanding, and it's a taxing and usually lead to poor health outcomes. So what we wanted to do is we also provide support for them. So that's the area that we are doing. And again, you could ask this question later. And this is I mentioned that we develop our own video, and we also have like Zoom like this, but we want to connect securely between the caregiver and the patient, as well as the provider, so they can have a three-way connection. Imagine it's more like you have FaceTime, but it's more secure, and then it can be connected also with the portal. So that's the second highlights of the research. And then another one that I'd like to to give an example is the wellness pavilion. As some of you know, that Pitt is really committed to provide to reach out to the underserved population within our community. So we built a wellness pavilion at the Hill District and Homewood. So the first one is Homewood, and then the other one is in the Hill District area. So this is an example of so we will have many. Well, we have all the departments within SHRS. We'll with this wellness pavilion, and we can capture the data there. Students will be there and connected to their supervisors at SHRS, and this is and capturing data, and then from that screening data, we'll be able to provide the information, the recommendation to and this is the workflow. It's a bit busy so we focus more on assessment of the clients from the community, and then from there we provide recommendation, as well as probably also the clinical intervention there. And this is an example of the visualization that we are doing for the wellness pavilion. Okay, so hope that provides you with highlights about the uh, educational activities within the department that is related to health informatics and health information management department, as well as the highlights about what the future of health informatics.
Okay, Dr. Primanto, can we move to questions?
So, okay.
The first question we have here is, how does the health information management and health informatics program rate with other schools in the nation?
Thank you, Nathan. So, so there are, health informatics is quite diverse because it's multidisciplinary. So there are areas that there are programs that is related to that focus more on research. So that's the informatics that is used to support research. An example of that one is the biomedical informatics program at Pitt. There are programs like that in other universities. And then there is a health informatics program that come from the computer science and the and health information management. So our program is part of that in the second one. So because if we want to make a comparison, we need to to compare something that is similar. So I would say that our program, the compared to a similar program in health informatics, probably is one of the top. I'm very confident of that because before we put together curriculum, I did scan of all the curriculum and how and who they are and what kind of thing they teach at other universities. So so the health informatics program usually is either come from computer science program where they don't have much content that is other than data mining, for example. So that's why the data acumen chart is very important. As you can see there, our program is very high in terms of data acumen compared to other programs even within Pitt, and so that's the same thing. So compared to other programs that come out from HIM program, so there are traditional HIM programs all over the country. That's large programs. There are many, probably more than 100 programs. I think our program is probably the strongest compared to them.
Okay, the next question is, do the health information management and health informatics students develop the apps? Are computer science students or biomedical engineering students involved in these projects as well?
So this this system developed by both of our students. So we have well, mostly it's led by PhD students, my students in HI. So they are students at SHRS. They are the leading developers of so they are the architect of the system and leading the development team. Now, the development team involve both students from information science as well as our students.
Then our next question is, in your career, what has been your favorite project that you have worked on?
Well, that's tough. We have so every project poses different challenges. So, for example, the I'm Here project, that's probably the longest project that we have been involved. That's that's one of my favorite because it allows us to really reach into the areas that that is not digitized before. So this is the underserved areas that is really important for us. At the backpack project, on the other hand, is also a favorite of mine because it's really challenging in terms of managing huge amount of data and and a very complex data. And we plan to do machine learning on that one. So we still don't know yet what how we're going to do it, and what kind of machine learning that we're going to do. So this is an example of the thing. If you will be have informatician or have data science in the future, one of the exciting things is that you will never know what you'll get from this. So this is an example of that in the extreme, because in most cases you get a sense of the data. So the data is usually simpler, and what kind of thing that you'll get. This is the situation where we don't know yet what kind of analytical method that we could apply. We don't even know what we can extract, what information, what pattern, that we can extract from the data. So so that's part of the challenge, and that'll make it exciting.
Dr. Pimento, can you talk a little bit about why you came to Pitt and what brought you to Pitt and to stay this long time?
Wow, that's an interesting question. So I was born in and grew up in Indonesia. I don't know if any of you have ever heard Indonesia. So I did my undergrad there, and then I applied for graduate school to several schools, and then I didn't know Pitt. I didn't know Pittsburgh before, so I just applied to several schools, and then one of it was Pitt, because Pitt has an information science. Because I like to, my background is in computer science. I want to enter a field that is more interdisciplinary, not really really focused on computer science. So Pitt has is one of that program with information science. And at that time, then I got accepted to Pitt, and then I was about to go to Pitt, and then my advisors in undergrad asked me, do you really want to go to Pittsburgh? Do you know what Pittsburgh is? I don't know. I never came here. So he did his PhD in the United States in the 70s. So in his imagination, Pittsburgh was a dirty, smoky town, and he didn't want me to go, to come here. So that's what he suggested, and said, and he really strongly suggested not to come to Pittsburgh at that time. But I went anyway. So that's and the rest is history. It's a cliche. But so I came here. I did the PhD here, and then when I finished, so my background was in machine learning actually, and my background was in data science before it was called data science. So my background was in machine learning. I did my dissertation in neural networks, and then at that time, it's more like you have a tool, you have a hammer, but you don't have a nail. You don't know how to apply this, because the data that we dealt with at the time was very small. So, and other methods which much more is easier, and it's easier to explain. So neural network was not a favorite one. So that's why then I got a position at the SIM department. So I started doing something other than machine learning, and that's why I did a lot of work with the digital health, and that's still my interest. And then so data science, it come into this because so first is because of the amount of data, as I mentioned to you. So with sensors, with everything, as you can see that the amount of data with the internet, with everything digital, the amount of data is really large, and the volume is large, and the velocity of the data, and then the diversity of the data. But it's not really hip until probably about 8 years ago. So I just want to tell you a story that there is something called deep learning, and that's what revolutionized everything. And that's why you can have Alexa right now, you have Siri. That's because of that. With the deep learning, So previously, there is already more of advanced machine learning method, but we didn't have the data. And then we had the data, but the method was not, it didn't catch up. And then, about 8 years ago, about, 2012, that's the year when the deep learning was started, is when the method, the machine learning method and the data they use under the met. That's where you can see, you saw the amazing things that happened, something that honestly I didn't predict 20 years ago. Okay, so that's the thing that with computer, with the technology, that's usually the case. Something that so imagine that I don't know what's going to happen 15 years from now. So but I would think, well, first it can be amazing thing, but it could also be frightening thing depending on the way you look at it. That's why the ethical thing and other things are important. Data governance and all of those things. But that's where this I cannot overemphasize that it's not hyping that this is the time where things will change because of that, because of the amount of data that we're dealing with, and the the method that has been is catching up with the data that allows us to do. So 25 years ago I saw a self-driving car at CMU. CMU started that, but it was more like a joke by now, because it was so primitive. So I thought that I wouldn't see it in my lifetime, self-driving car. Okay, but now it's like every day, and not only that, the sort of the self-driving car will be incorporated into car technology in an everyday basis. And you'll have your Ford, like $15,000 car or even $10,000 car will have that kind of technology in the next 10 years or so.
Next question is, where do you see our profession in the next 5 years?
I will see that again. So health data science is the future of HIM, the future of health informatics. So I will see that our HIM is traditionally is called medical record. Like you sit at the corner of hospital managing a piles of papers, medical record papers. So that pile of medical record papers right now become irrelevant. So we're dealing with with data that is captured digitally. So that's why HIM as a field moving towards that, managing digitally. So, starting probably about 20 years ago, EHR implementation. So HIM field, mostly dealing with EHR. So, in the future, it's no longer EHR in the sense that you have system like SHRS or Epic in a hospital. You'll have a digital capture everywhere. You'll have wearable devices, you have apps that monitor your health, your condition every day. So HIM, in the future will be that. We'll be moving towards more, on health intervention using digital technology and how to integrate data from our daily life, to provide a better intervention. So that's the area that will be is moving more and more towards outside the hospitals and outside, and also doing things in in the population-based data, like with this pandemic era. So moving out of the traditional area of hospital base.
What skills do you think are important to be a successful data scientist?
Well, all of those skills that I mentioned in that National Academy report. So it's you think that the hardcore the machine learning thing is the most important thing. It's not actually. Even if you work in machine learning, the machine learning thing is probably like 5% of your work, because that's actually sometimes the easy part. The rest is you need to gather data. You need so you need to know, what data you're dealing with, what problem you're dealing with, so that data acumen in the presentation that I have, all of those are important. Data visualization and data reporting, storytelling. So that's one of the most important things. So making the information live, meaning that you need to tell a story that why the information that you get from the data that you have matters for the business that you're dealing with.
Our next question is, what is your work environment like, and where do you go to develop and refine your programs?
So you mean so we have our lab. Well, our lab actually is just an office. It's not where people can work and play around with, and so that's where our development is done. So there is no really a lab in traditional sense. So that can be done from anywhere right now. So that's why our research activity is still ongoing. And then, we refine it by, having our, so we have students, some of our undergrad students are involved in the testing as well. And then we go, of course, at the end, we go to the users. So we do focus group, we implement it in community organization, we deal with all the potential users and then get the feedback from them.
The Pitt HIM department is top 10 ranked program. What are the metrics used to make that determination? What do you believe is the largest driver of the program's ranking?
That's a question, and the answer is I don't know. So okay, so those ranking are from somewhere. Okay, so and they have their own method, and I don't know how, but what I can tell you is that as again when we develop our grad curriculum as well as our undergrad curriculum, we did scan who are our, which programs are strong, which one not, and which and I'm confident that our program is probably among the top in terms of the criteria that I'll be using is the curriculum. Okay, so we have something what I would call organic curriculum, meaning that everything is done internally within the department. We don't just patch in different courses from various departments that usually doesn't gel together very well. So that's our strength. Our curriculum is very strong, and as you can see there, even that chart that I presented, that's not from me. I was not involved at all about when we evaluate our data acumen strength in our curriculum. That's from a group in computer science actually who did that scan. And then the second is the faculty. I think we have a plan of faculty that that is really will give you will deliver that curriculum. And I also did scan other faculty in other programs. In HIM program, I think probably we are strongest in the nation, compared to other program. I can say that with confidence. So the faculty that is strong in other universities usually either come from computer science, or from that kind of area. Okay, so that's but in it compared to other HIM programs in other schools, I think ours is way up there compared to them. And then and also we have strong what I would call immersive experience. So if you're an undergrad, that's what you could do internship in. We have partnership with probably about 120 in companies and institutions, And then, our graduates are, the job market, I think is very good, but that's not the, part of the criteria for comparing to other. So curriculum, faculty, and then the immersive experience that we have. I think that's and then the opportunity for us to involve in research as well. So that's something that other SIM department don't have.
Going off of kind of what you just talked about, our next question is, does the program help their graduates find their future employers? If so, how?
Yes, so we have, so our program is within the School of Health and Rehab Sciences. What I learned is that, because I come from, computer science background, in health sciences areas, they have something called clinical coordinator, meaning that they connect with clinical sites that will, place them, the students, doing internship, something that, other probably arts and science don't have. So, and usually students get immersed into that with internship in that company, and then usually lead to employment. But if not, if you are online and you in different areas, we also have, that's why, my idea of having that platform, the Redwine platform, is that it will allow you to get experience with dealing with the whole spectrum of data science that will allow you to possess skill that is marketable, to the employer. But to answer that, yes, we have clinical coordinator, and that's will help you with with the immersive experience. Also, what I plan to do is that clinical coordinator, excuse me, clinical coordinator will also bring in companies from that doing recruitment to our students. So we will have recruitment sessions, and hopefully this speaker series will be we could also be used as part of that activities. We can invite potential employers to present their companies and doing recruitment to our students.
Will the Redwine platform offer an opportunity for non-PhD students to learn more about the mobile health projects the department is developing? If not, where can students learn more?
Yes, actually, the Redwine actually will be used for, right now will be used primarily for education for our students in all levels. As I mentioned, that it can ideally will be used from when you get in to the program, when you don't know anything about about data science, to when you about to leave the program, when you are really well versed with all the you could do programming in Python, you want to do machine learning, you can do that too over there. So yeah, so that's the and probably we will also scale it up to other department within the school as well, to teach them about what is data science.
Okay, we are approaching our last 5 minutes, so we have time for one more question if anyone has one. Feel free to put the question in the chat if you do have one. All right. Okay. One question we just have is the Redwine and wellness a part of the curriculum?
Yeah, thanks, Lakshmi. So that's is we, I present that one in as part of digital health intervention. So it's just to give you an idea about how to develop a digital health intervention system. So in a way that it's not part of the curricula in the sense that you will learn how to do that, but more of present it to you. This is how it's done. Okay, if you want to get involved, as part of the, let's say, your capstone, you could do that as well. And there is a last question there: how do you get involved in research? Well, it's Pitt is a research university. It's a very strong research university. We are the top 5 NIH funded university. So in here, the faculty, we have to do research. So that's a given. So that's actually also will help the education as well. So the reason why I'm doing research is because we are part of Pitt, which is top 5 NIH funded research university, and we are probably one of the top research universities in the world as well in that sense. So so research is part of the activities that the faculty are doing, and I was involved in research from the beginning, and I started. So our department was not strong in research at the beginning, but as we move along, we right now we are sort of on par with other departments within Pitt, about doing research as part of our routine faculty activities thing. So.
Okay, well, we are going to wrap up. I want to thank you, Dr. Pimento, for being our first ever speaker for the Health Information Management Student Association. And thank you everyone for coming out. We do have our next speaker series on November 12th, where the CEO of the American Health Information Management Association will come to speak. And I hope you learned a lot today and are interested in getting involved in research. So thank you, Dr. Pimento.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Thank you, Mike and Kim. And thank you, Nicole, for arranging this.
Very good. Bye-bye.